Welcome back to Frontline Eurosports Online. Your host Nate Jennings is here with Spencer. His big day, flying high five for that. We're going to be taking ownership of a 2018 Triumph Street Triple R in this beautiful black color. So we're going to go over this motorcycle together. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
We're going to go around the whole bottom of it, make sure we understand all the components, adjustments, and all that happy jazz. Then we're going to go into the handlebars and instrumentation. And the highlight is getting into our TFT display and showing you all the amazing features and beautiful display that you're going to have an option to finagle through. So we always welcome you to your new motorcycle with a tire safety warning. You have the best rubber in the world with Pirelli tires on here. And these are going to be something that are mounted on a 17-inch rim with 90-degree valve stem. So we have no excuse to not check our tire pressure, always a pre-ride check. We're going to have a twin disc braking system with Brembo calipers that are radially mounted with steel braided brake lines leading to them. So we have a very precise and accurate feel from our Brembo radial mount master cylinder. We have a hydraulic dampening suspension here. These are the Showa fork legs that are going to be adjustable for preload compression and rebound, so you have maximum adjustability to find the perfect setup for yourself. We're on a inline 3-cylinder that is a water-cooled power plant, fuel injected and chain driven. So we have up front our radiator, our cooling system, that's going to have an auxiliary fan on it. You might feel that kick on when you exceed temperatures around 225 or so. We have a one-piece engine transmission that's very compact and stacked. So we're going to have our oil fill, our oil check, an oil recirculation system, and on the other side, our spin-on filter with a drain obviously on the bottom. Our clutch cable right here is going to be adjustable for major adjustments right here for our clutch actuation rod. And that's our major adjustments, more along the lines of our service department and our certified Triumph technicians working with you. Our rear braking system right here, our brake pedal with our collapsible foot peg with a little bit smaller fuel gauge because we got amazing lean angle capabilities out of this motorcycle. And behind our heel guard is our master cylinder. Our one rubber hose out of our brake line system is going to be going to our overflow reservoir right here for fluid levels and fluid clarity to make sure that we don't have too much condensation and moisture drawing into our braking system, which we're going to service our suspension and brakes per our owner's manual to make sure we don't have that degrading feel on our motorcycle. Always feeling tip-top Triumph performance. Our steel braided brake line that's running around our newly designed swing arm, which is just beautiful in my personal opinion. And one of the first options I'd like to see you put on this bad boy, besides that tie detail we were talking about, is going into spools. That's going to give you accessibility for rear stand pickups, lubricate and adjust our chain properly, and also keeping the bike upright for storage. And it's another thing to protect your swing arm, which is a component of your frame for any damages if you had any boo-boos. Our rear brake caliper is a Brembo as well. And this additional lead that we see is for our speed sensor pickup. It's picking them off this little cam right here, reading our front and rear wheel speed. That's going to operate our ABS and our traction control system. We have our pillion pegs that are removable if you want to take them off and keep that super clean solo look on this machine. In the back, we're going to have an LED brake light assembly. We have clear turn signals with amber bulbs to be 50 state compliant, and illumination for our license plate on our new motorcycle. Our chain, we've got to maintain our chain. And our chain right now is heavily packed with lithium grease to preserve its shelf life from coming overseas and preventing any corrosion. So we get a brand new luscious chain on our Street Triple R here. But we want to make sure and do adjustments to that. My rule of thumb is every, say, 2.5 tanks of gas every 500 miles or so. Make sure and check that bad boy out. It's our 8-pound snake that can bite us in the back of the leg, our engine case, or shoot off into our friend's face that we're riding with, and we don't want that to happen. We have our rear shock assembly with a piggyback reservoir and our preload adjustability. Notice how they have a red spring on there that highlights the red subframe and our red rim tape on this guy. You have linkage just set up for our shift pedal, which is a 6-speed transmission. Here's my joke of the day. 1, neutral, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with your 6-speed transmission. If you don't know what gear you're in, you can always pull over and realize that you got 6 speeds instead of 5 speeds. Ha ha. So we're going to have the ability to adjust this with our heim joints on either side here and rotating our pedal height to find that perfect spot for ourselves, preventing us from having to move any factory set angles and geometry of our output shaft right here coming from the transmission. Being a water-cooled power plant, we're going to have an auxiliary overflow tank, and that's located right here on the side of the engine force, a new location where it used to be down underneath where the muffler is now. We have our stator cover on this side of the machine. It's creating all the power for our motorcycle. Our water line's right here, and our horn is really the only thing that's kind of out of place. You got to have one, so they had to stick it somewhere, and there it is. So the fun part, I'm going to get your keys out of the lock cylinder here, and it's easy to find our seat removal. So we can pull our pillion seat off, and that's where you're going to have your factory tool kit, basically your Allen keys, so that you can remove your front saddle right here. We're not going to get into that into this delivery, but you know how to access under there if you wanted to and get to your battery and other components. Let's lock that back on. Always give it a nice little tug and make sure she's locked on tightly. That will also give us access to our conventional fuel filler and back into our ignition. The machine is going to have a parking option that illuminates your daytime running lights, your LEDs, and the front headlight. You got to come check that out real quick. And that's in our park mode. If I run it to just standard steering column lock, they won't be on. And when we turn our key on, you're going to see our daytime running lights and our low beams come on. So let's go into the handlebars and controls. We have a ride-by-wire throttle system right here. It's a conventional twist, but no push and pull cables anymore. We have our hazard lights and the integration of our run, cycle, and start button. Did you hear when I cycled that off and back on? We have the fuel pump kicking on. So they made it where we don't forget our run, cycle switch before the start button. It's just going to be automatic for you. As we creep across the other side, we have a normal horn, turn signals, pushing in for cancelization. Our high beam is a trigger switch up top side. And then we have some mode selection and a joystick down here to play with. And we're going to get into all the meat and potatoes of that right now. So the very first thing we'll start with is our mode selection. Right now you have an indicator up top side here that's showing that we are in our rain mode, and we can finagle through that and go to different modes like our road, our sport, and our rider, pushing in on the joystick to select that particular mode. So let me go to a different mode. We'll go to rider and select that. Now you see you have the rider emblem up there letting you know what you've selected for yourself and the power, ABS, and traction control intervention. Other things that we're going to find that joystick doing is if we have the ability to move up and down and left and right with that bad boy, we can cycle through to our engine temperature, our contrast of the screen, and actually change it to auto contrast or high contrast. We can go through our fuel metering and have our miles per gallon average, our instantaneous, and our range on petrol tank. And then we get back to our odometer screen, our run time, and our average speed. Take it back to coolant, contrast, fuel, and odometer. So some of the fun stuff that we get to do, we have to go back to the left handlebar control, and there is a home button right here. If we select that home button at the very bottom of the left control, that'll bring up our beautiful display that allows us to go through and manipulate what we want to do with our rider mode, rain, road, and sport. There is also a reset for all. We have bike setup, getting into our indicators, our ABS, traction control, and service. We have trip setup for our trip 1, trip 2, and our trip 2 display. And our display setup is the main one I'm going to hit for us today. So we can change the style along with our date, our clock, units of measurements, language, visible tray, brightness, low and high contrast that we saw earlier. So let's get into the style. We had style 3. We can select style 2 and see the instantaneous change in the instrument cluster. Let's go back in there, get back down to our display setup, and go to style 1. Go back home. Now we've completely changed again, enlarging our speedometer and changing our tachometer to a side and our gear shift indicator on the far right. So we have our normal timepiece, temperature, fuel meter, speedometer, tachometer, gear indicator. That's probably one of the more informative displays that you're going to have, which is display style 1. So we can set your personal preferences when you desire, but now we've gone through and given you a good idea of what we have options for on this also tiltable TFT display screen that you get from the Triumph Street Triple R 2018 model with a new 765 power plant. You ready to ride this bad boy home?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Excited. So, thanks for watching us here at the Frontline Eurosports Online with Spencer and Nate. And we're going to take this thing outside, give it a quick start so you can hear the amazing 765 3-cylinder that Triumph has produced for us and coming to Moto 2 in 2019. Here comes the Street Triple R. So you want to jump on this side of the bike and give this bad boy your first start? Stand back here where we can hear it good. Triumphs require the clutch to be pulled in. That is one thing we got to remember on a Triumph. Where's the smile? There it is, hiding it in the beard, baby. So that's our new 765 power plant. What do you think, man? I'm gonna give her just a little juice, just a little. Just a little. That's what I'm talking about. The infamous whine of a 3-cylinder, man. So thanks for watching us at Frontline Eurosport.